Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Classic Gaming Brothers. I'm Seth.
And I'm Zach.
And we are the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's right, we are the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's right. You know what's exciting about this episode?
It is 2 weeks before PAX?
It is 2 weeks before PAX, and 200 episodes after we covered this game's prequel.
Oh, that is exciting.
We timed it precisely.
We put it in our calendar. We said, this is the episode, this is the day we're going to put out the sequel.
That's right. We timed it just in time. So if there's any games that we've done an episode on that you want to hear us to do the sequel, you just have to wait
200 episodes.
200 episodes. And we'll get around to it.
Yeah, we will. We will.
Sometimes more, sometimes less.
Don't say we'll never get around to it, because there's a high probability we will.
Yeah, there is a high probability that we will. That, we could finally be kicked out of the studio.
Yeah.
Then we could never record again after that.
Yeah, it'll be sad.
Our last episode, we should be walked off by the police like Monty Python.
Like Monty Python? Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be good. That'd be a good kicker. We could have producer Doug do the intro where he essentially escaped through the hatch. Anyway, what's exciting about this episode also is it's solely about a video game.
That's true. That's true. We're not talking about a comic book, a movie, a comic book that became a movie and then became a video game that started out as a book in the 1930s.
Yeah. Some weird, vague Zach decision. You always know the episodes that I inspired. I wouldn't say write, because I don't write episodes. That's what Zach does. But that I inspired because they're about video games. The episodes that Zach inspires are about other things and kind of related to video games.
Yeah.
Or they're about Sonic, which could be about other things that aren't related to video games.
Yeah.
So if you ever wonder if I was the inspiration or if Zach was the inspiration, you don't have to wonder about who wrote it, because that was mostly Zach. I don't think I've written an episode in 100 episodes. But if you ever wonder who was the inspiration behind the episode, just wonder what the context is. Is it about a video game or is it not?
Yeah, exactly.
As the primary writer, you get to choose the topic.
That's what the kicker is, right? So if Seth's not writing episodes, I have to write the episodes, and sometimes my ideas come from whatever I was recently watching on the TV.
Or if you want a structured episode, feel free to write in. We should be doing an episode. We had an episode recommendation from longtime listener Brent, who wrote in for a future episode, which we'll be getting to cover in the next few, I think. But Zach, before we get into the meat of the episode, as we used to call it.
Yes.
Between two wonderful pieces of bread.
Yes, white bread.
Decidedly. I guess our podcast delineates entirely down to one piece of bologna and 2 pieces of white bread.
That bologna is pretty thick.
Not always.
No, sometimes it's thin with barely any substance.
You always have to eat it over a sink. That's in case you ever want to know what the standard of our podcast is. We're a bologna sandwich with no condiments.
Yeah.
A true poverty sandwich for a true poverty pod. But Zach, so what have you recently been playing?
Seth, recently I've been playing the game The Exit 8. Released in 2023 by Kotake Create, which was released for a whole bunch of systems. It's on PC, it's on PS4, it's on PS5. I played the PC version. The Exit 8, or Exit 8, depending on what you want to refer to it as, is a horror game. It's a walking simulator where you walk through a hallway in a subway station that is constantly looping. Your goal is to identify anomalies and reach Exit 8, because as you keep going down the hallway that loops, you'll see signs that say Exit 0, Exit 1, Exit 2. So you're trying to get to Exit 8. And in terms of looking at anomalies and looking for these anomalies, if you see an anomaly, you have to turn around and go the opposite direction of the way you're going. So the idea is you go down the hallway, and if the hallway looks identical to the first time you walked down the hallway, you keep going. But if you notice something weird, you turn around. The anomalies become harder and harder as you go through the game, and sometimes they're pretty straightforward. Like, for example, one of the earliest anomalies you'll see is, here's how the loop goes. You're walking down the hallway, and you turn a corner, and down the hallway is a man walking towards you very slowly, and there are 2 doors on the right, 6 posters on the left, and a vent up to the corner. It's a white hallway. Looks like any other subway station. One time I turned down that corner, and there were 2 children standing in the hallway instead of the man coming at me. That was decidedly an anomaly, so I turned around. However, another time I turned down the corner, I realized that one of the doors was missing, and it took me a moment. I was like, as I was walking, I was like, oh, there's a door missing here. This is usually 2 doors on the right that are locked, not just one. So then I turned around. So they do get harder. As you go through, you kind of have to take a moment to really see what exactly the anomaly was. Sometimes by the time you realize what the anomaly was, it freaks you out by a lot. Like once it was just the shadow of a man standing in the corner watching me the whole time, and it was really unnerving. But it's a good game nonetheless. Really spooky, and really is truly just a walking horror simulator. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to play this game, not just because I heard it's a good game, is it's got a film adaptation that came out in Japan and is due out in the United States this year, and the film adaptation looks really good. I'm a big fan of Japanese horror, so I'm looking forward to seeing the movie, but I wanted to play the game first and get to experience it, and I do really like it. That's The Exit 8 from Kotake Create.
What happens if you don't find the anomalies?
I think it resets. Sometimes the game will end because something gets you.
I saw a game called Recurve that I'm excited about that's coming out soonish. Maybe it'll be at PAX. It's like a side-scrolling game where if you walk forward, time flows normally, and if you turn around and go backwards, time goes backwards. And you can like grab something from a bad guy and make it so that they don't have it in the future. So like if the guy hits somebody with a crowbar, you can take that crowbar and you can go in the past. It looked interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
I kind of like the mechanics of things changing based on directions moving.
So Seth, what about you? What have you been recently playing?
Recently I've been playing the game of the hour, as it were. Diablo II Resurrected Infernal Edition. It came out on Steam back in February of 2026, and it is a fully remastered with a new class, fresh content, quality of life upgrades, and an overhaul endgame of the game, and that is of Diablo II. It's great. I won't go into too much detail in regards to the plot of the game, since we're going to spend the next hour or so chatting about that. But I'm playing Gil, who is a summoner necromancer, and he runs around with skeletons and a clay golem. I have also read that it's not a great kit to play because it's tough to get past certain bosses, but that's never stopped me from playing something that's not entirely kitted out correctly before. So I'm excited to play my little guy who runs around with skeletons and a clay golem. The new classes that are introduced in this remastered is the warlock, and there's also a paladin from an earlier DLC. Paladin being a holy warrior, and a warlock is like a demon binder. One of the things that I did like is at the bottom they have there's like a mature content warning, and the developer has to describe why it's a mature content warning in the mature content warning, and the Diablo 2 developers described the mature content warning as violence against humans and demons.
It's true.
It's true. I do like though that it's just like it's mature because there's violence and they're against humans. There's also violence against demons, which people should be on their lookout for content there.
Did you say that the paladin was a new class? Because I read it was one of the original 5.
What?
Yeah.
I thought, was Paladin original 5?
According to the Diablo 2 wiki.
Oh, the Assassin and the Druid are the expansion classes.
Those are from the expansion, the original expansion. Warlock is the most recent edition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was somewhere I read, I thought the Paladin was new. I never played the Paladin, so clearly I always played the Barbarian, so that's kind of where I don't remember the Paladin being new. The Warlock is decidedly new. It also includes the Druid and the Assassin, who are from one of the original expansions of Diablo 2.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I guess we can just segue right into our memories of Diablo 2. Seth, do you like playing Diablo 2? Is that a game that you were a fan of playing as a youngin?
Well, not a good enough fan to remember that one of the core classes was Paladin. And it's Lord of Destruction added the Assassin. All I really clearly remember of Diablo 2 was the Barbarian class could leap, and I did that a lot in the couple of times that I played it before. I played a lot more of Diablo 1 than I did Diablo 2, and then I played some of Diablo 3 because my wife got it for me on the Switch.
Nice.
But yeah, so that's kind of like my Diablo 2 experience. What about you?
So I remember playing Diablo 2 a bit at a family friend's house one night when I was staying over. I don't remember if I was like staying the night or if our mom was out late and you couldn't babysit for some reason. But I remember I was staying late at the family friend's house and he showed me Diablo 2, which I thought was really cool because I remember seeing it was a Blizzard game and I was familiar with Warcraft and StarCraft, but I really liked how Diablo 2 didn't feel like a Blizzard game, at least for the kind that I was familiar with. It was a really different style game, and I also remember being really freaked out by the box art with the skeleton face. But then the family friend's mom came down and saw us playing Diablo 2 and got really mad at us, so we had to stop playing Diablo 2, and then we ended up playing like random Flash games on the internet or something. But yeah, that was my memory of playing Diablo 2 is that and the spooky box art. But to get into the history of Diablo 2, we, as Seth alluded to at the beginning of this episode, we'd last talked about Diablo back in episode 128. So of course, 200 episodes later was the perfect time to revisit this series and talk about the sequel. And to get into the sequel, Diablo 2's development began back actually pretty close to when the first game launched. The first game, Diablo, would launch in 1997, and Blizzard would essentially just go ahead and announce that they were working on a sequel. They knew they had something good on their hands with this first game, and they really hoped to get the sequel out, ideally by the first quarter of 1998. Development of Diablo 2, though, ended up becoming a bit of a mixed bag of different issues. For one thing, reportedly, throughout the entire time they were working on the game, there was no design document of any kind at any point. Basically, according to lead designer Eric Schaefer in a Gamma Sutra post-mortem that he did back in 2000, he was quoted as saying, "We just started making up new stuff." So they would be working on the game and just be like, "Oh, I got an idea." And they put that idea in the game. And they wouldn't like flesh out any of these ideas in a design document like most games are developed. They just kept adding on to it. To do this, they worked on first looking at what they had with the original Diablo and what did well, and building off of it from there. Quite literally, they actually used some of the original code when they were building off of Diablo to build Diablo 2. According to Schaefer, this meant expanding things like the number of towns. In Diablo 1, there is 1 town. In Diablo 2, there are 4 towns. They added additional classes. They added new dungeons.
Including the Paladin.
Including the Paladin. Instead of just 3 standard armor types that were in Diablo 2 would implement a component system where you can mix and match your armor types, allowing you to have a variety of different appearances. Another important change was in the randomization of boss monsters with different abilities, creating almost an endless amount of new challenges for players playing the game. One major thing that the team wanted to avoid was crunch. Diablo notoriously had a really bad crunch period that pushed the team to their limits, so they wanted to definitely avoid this for Diablo 2. Let's put a pin on that. In terms of the game design, work was done to create a world that was large. Now, Diablo 1 is a pretty large game, but notably, it is vertically large. It is not horizontally large, because in Diablo 1, you're descending a dungeon, going down different levels. So in contrast to this, they made Diablo 2 large horizontally and less vertical. So you had a bit more to explore in the places that you went. Now, in terms of art, according to the Gamma Sutra article from Schaefer, most of the in-game and cinematic art was rendered in 3D Studio Max, while 2D interfaces and textures were made in Photoshop. The game itself would be written in C and C++, and only 1% of Diablo's original code would remain in Diablo 2.
The 1998 planned launch would come and go for a variety of reasons. One cause of the delay was due to developer David Brevik trying to match the gameplay of Ultima Online into Diablo 2, as he really wanted to improve the multiplayer component. Brevik also wanted to add in character skill trees, taking the idea from games like Master of Orion. Schaefer notes in his post-mortem that a lot of the early time was spent trying to perfect Act 1, because they knew it would be used as a beta or a demo on those ever-elusive demo discs. Blizzard let the team work on the game and gave them a lot of freedom in terms of their creativity and putting designs together, but unfortunately, come the end of 1998, there was still nothing finalized. In 1999, Blizzard North entered crunch to ensure the game would be released in 2000. This meant a period of 12 months where they only focused on getting the game out and perfecting the multiplayer, something they tried to avoid. Music in the game would be composed by Matt Uelman and recorded from 1997 until March of 2000, hopefully non-stop. Oh, Matt only every day just recorded. The music features some rearranged tracks from the first game and outtakes that didn't make it to the original release. Some recycled music from the first game, such as the player visiting the town, and some of the same chords are reused from the original piece of Diablo town theme. This can be heard best in Rogue during Act 1. Which, whenever I was playing Diablo 2, my wife would just be like, "Oh, you're playing Diablo," because she's very familiar with the sounds. Because she likes Diablo, I think probably more than I do, which is saying something. I do really like, though, that I've been playing Diablo 2 on my Steam Deck, which it runs great on. So that's it's a good mobile game now. Mobile being on my Steam, not on my phone.
Now, as the game was going to be released in the US and overseas at the same time, the marketing and PR team at Blizzard worked to build up the excitement. This effort is largely credited as being part of the game's overall success. In terms of the design of the art, one interesting fact is that the box art had to be redesigned. The original image featured a skull that had a hole in its face and its forehead. This was slightly modified, so the hole is less visible following the Columbine High School massacre, as that did actually impact a lot of game design and game artwork of that time period, as some people felt it was inappropriate following the Columbine massacre. The hole in the skeleton's head is prominent again in all the updated artwork, such as for Diablo II Resurrected. So if you look at the skeleton on the cover of Diablo II Resurrected, he has that prominent hole right in the center of his skull, whereas it's less visible in the original version.
They said, we made changes to our art for long enough.
Diablo 2 would be released in June 2000. Collector's Edition format was released, which contained a copy of the Diablo Dungeons & Dragons campaign setting, some collector items, and promotional movies for upcoming Blizzard titles, which I think is the worst collector's item to ever include, is just... here's an ad. In 2001, Diablo the Battle Chest was released with a copy of Diablo and a copy of Diablo 2 and a copy of Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction, which was the first expansion pack for Diablo 2 and the only one for Diablo 2 until 2026. In Japan, Diablo 2's release would be handled by Capcom. Diablo 2, as a fun fact, would continue to be supported by Blizzard until March of 2016. So 10 years ago, as of the recording of this episode, as we're in March of 2026, 10 years ago was when Blizzard stopped their updates of Diablo 2, the last patch being patch 1.14a, which allowed for support of Windows 7 and newer systems, so that you continue to play Diablo 2 on your upgraded Windows system before the remake came out.
If you're interested in the Diablo Dungeons & Dragons campaign setting, the one that was released in 2000, which was a collector's edition format, you could buy Diablo Dungeons & Dragons. It's Diablo 2 The Awakening for about $80 to $100. They released a couple of D&D books, and the first one looks like it was originally released in 2nd edition. They may have done a reprint when they did it in 3rd edition, but it's funny that if they released it in May of 2000 in 2nd edition, and 3rd edition came out in 2000 as well.
Yeah.
So it's just like, well, maybe Wizards of the Coast could have helped them out, but apparently not. Diablo 2 takes place following the end of the first Diablo. The player character from the first game has defeated Diablo, but has become corrupted by demons and causes a rift in the world where demons have entered the world of Sanctuary. Diablo ends up taking control of the original character, now known as the Dark Wanderer, and seeks to release his brothers, Mephisto and Baal. Your job is to stop them. You know, if I didn't say Diablo in that sentence, that just sounds like a D&D game.
I mean...
or a Fallout game.
Yeah, or Fallout.
The Dark Wanderer. The gameplay is divided into 4 acts, with each being a predetermined path through key areas. However, the world you travel, the wilderness and dungeons, are all randomly generated. You complete various quests, fighting off monsters and the forces of hell. There are also side quests that can reward you with extra experience. Each act has a different aesthetic. Act 1 is very similar to Diablo 1, and it's like foresty and like very, like you're just in a like classic medieval setting, going
Yeah.
into caves.
Deckard Cain is there.
Deckard Cain is there. There's a guy that sounds like Deckard Cain is there.
Stay a while. Listen.
Stay a while. Listen. Valen or something like that is the guy's name. And then there's Theed, the merchant, and Kara or Kira, the rogue person. Act 2 is Egyptian themed. Act 3 is inspired by Mayan civilization. Act 4 is Hell, the Christian version of Hell, with fire, rocks, and lava. And the main bosses consist of Andariel, Druriel, Mephistos, Diablo, Baal, Sleepy, Dopey, Grumpy. But Baal was fought in the expansion pack. There are also various sub-bosses such as Bloodraven, Griswold, the Radamant, the Summoner, Azul, Putrid Defiler, Nithalathak, Uber Izul, or my favorite, Cold Ranger. Is the Butcher in Diablo 2? I know. I think the Butcher is dead.
Yeah, he is not in Diablo 2 or Diablo 2 Resurrected. But he does show up in 3 and 4.
Of course he does. He's the Butcher.
And he shows up in a side quest in Warcraft 3.
Well, yeah, because he's the Butcher. Butcher.
Fresh meat.
Probably the scariest boss that everyone got to while playing Diablo 1.
The main game features 5 different classes. There's the Amazon, which is similar to the Rogue of Diablo 1. The Amazon uses a bow. They can also use javelins and spears, as they have equal strength ability as well as some magic ability. The Necromancer is the next class. They are a death-themed caster from the Cult of Ramtha. The Necromancer can summon skeletons, golems, and slain monsters to fight alongside them.
It can also curse and poison and summon bone armor.
There's Seth's favorite class, the Barbarian, who has his leaps and his punches. He's a melee fighter, capable of dual-wielding weapons, or I assume, just his fists.
And leaping.
There's the Sorceress, who is from a rebellious coven of witches. She can use lightning, fire, and ice spells. There's the Paladin, a crusader of the Church of Zakram. The Paladin consists, in terms of his combat, of heavenly thunderbolts and defensive auras. In the expansion pack, 2 more classes are added. The Druid, who is a shapeshifter who can transform into a werebear or a werewolf. And the Assassin, a martial arts-based class that uses claw blades and can perform shadow magic. Also, an additional class is added to Diablo II Resurrected's most recent DLC, Reign of the Warlock, which adds the titular Warlock, who practices the forbidden art of demon binding, as Seth alluded to. The Warlock can also imbue weapons with eldritch power. You can also recruit hirelings throughout Diablo 2. Hirelings are mercenaries that are controlled by the computer, so they act as kind of NPC tag-along people that probably take the brunt of your damage when you go into a hectic scenario. It should also make note that Diablo 2 is multiplayer, as we alluded to before, which did make it pretty popular with people in terms of its multiplayer, and it allows you to play the game with your friends.
Or your enemies.
Or just random people that you meet on the street.
On release, Diablo 2 was a success, selling 184,000 copies on its first day. After 2 weeks, global sales reached upwards of 1 million copies. During 2000, it's estimated that by the end of the year, roughly 2.75 million copies sold, with 33% outside of the US. It's estimated that the game made about $48.2 million in the US market alone by the end of 2000, which, 26 years ago, was a lot of money. The game has a huge popularity outside of the US. It became a massive success in Germany, debuting at number 1 on games sales charts in 2000. It was popular in South Korea and would sell more than 200,000 copies in the UK. The game initially held the world record from Guinness for the fastest selling computer game ever. It's not surprising the game also was well received. GameSpot gave it an 8.5 out of 10, IGN gave it an 8.3 out of 10, and Next Generation gave it a 5 out of 5. The one common complaint from people was that they felt it was too similar to the first Diablo, which pissed off the developers from Blizzard because they decidedly made it not the first Diablo.
Yeah, in Eric Schaefer's postmortem, he mentions, he's like, people said that it's a lot like Diablo, but just so you know, only 1% of the code from Diablo was used. So
they just had a lot of same. You know what they could have done is they could have flipped Act 2 and Act 1. So then you started in Egypt and then you moved to the medieval town. Because let's be real, a lot of people that play Diablo can't really get past the first boss, especially if they're game reviewers. So then if you just make that part of the game very different, then I think they would have gotten less negative reviews about, or negative complaints about it being too similar.
Yeah.
But also Diablo's not a bad game to be similar to.
No, I mean, Diablo is a great game. In terms of its legacy, Diablo II would receive an expansion pack, Lord of Destruction, in June 2001. The expansion pack adds, as mentioned, 2 new character classes, but it also adds new weapons, a 5th act, and updated gameplay for both the base game's solo gameplay and multiplayer. It also boosted the resolution of the game from 640 by 480 to 800 by 600, so it looks nice and crispy on your CRT. The plot of Lord of Destruction takes place following the defeat of Diablo at the end of Act 4. You are urgently summoned by the Archangel Tyrael, who sends you to Harrogath, a stronghold located in the Barbarian Highlands. Baal, one of the surviving prime evils of hell, has taken control of a massive army and is leading an attack on Mount Arreat. Your job is to stop Baal and his massive army. A sequel to Diablo II, Diablo 3, would release in 2012, and Diablo 4 would then release in 2023. And in 2021, Diablo 2 Resurrected was released for the Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, PC, and Xbox. This would be a remake of Diablo 2 and Lord of Destruction, updating the game's graphics and netcode to function on modern systems. You can toggle between legacy graphics and updated graphics, featuring 3D models. In 2026 of February, last month, a new DLC was launched for Diablo 2, called Reign of the Warlock, which I just always think is fun when they update a game from many years ago and then are like, have a new expansion pack, why don't you?
That's right. And that's what I got. I got all of it.
You have it all.
And not for nothing, I paid like $30 for it or something like that.
It does MSRP for like $40. I think it's like $39.99.
Yeah, and I paid that. I paid $42 for this game.
Yeah.
I also I never bought Diablo 2, but I've bought so many Blizzard games over and over again. The amount of battle chests that I own. It's just untenable. Another. I don't ever feel bad about buying it again though, because sometimes they do different things.
Yeah, well, it's nice when they re-release stuff and make it work a little better, and in this case, do remakes. I mean, this sounds like it's a better remake. I don't hate the Warcraft and Warcraft 2 remakes.
It
but
is.
It sounds better though. Yeah.
You know what? It's not. I think part of it is because they're really not trying to remake it.
Yeah.
They just made it work and be it's the same type of, like, they didn't really overhaul the graphics or anything.
Yeah, right, exactly. So with Diablo 2 Resurrected, they did a lot more work, and it's much more impressive. Well, that will be it for our Diablo 2 episode. I hope everyone liked it, but before we finish this episode completely, we're going to get into our Retro Rewind. Seth had me play a game called Chamber of the Psi Mutant Priestess, developed by Exos and ERE Information back in 1989. It was released under a different name in the UK as Cult, the Temple of the Flying Saucers. It's set in a post-apocalyptic world. You play as a prisoner who's taken to a location, and you meet these weird alien creatures, and you have to solve puzzles. It's a first-person point-and-click adventure game. Some of the puzzles were pretty intuitive. For example, there was this one puzzle where the closer you got to a door, the walls would close on you. So you had to just, like, to go forward, there were 2 arrows, and you just had to press the furthest arrow, and then you could open the door. Another puzzle involved a water fountain that I had to wash my feet in, and then it opened a door for me. And then I got stuck on a puzzle called The Twins, which were these 2, like, birds that I had to open their mouths, and I couldn't really quite figure out what to do from there. So part of the game is you have to go around talking to people and asking them what they think and asking them for their opinions, and they'll give you clues. Now, I'm fine with this. A lot of games do this. But one problem I had was that the UI for this game is completely unintuitive. When you click on a character on the screen, it brings up what looks like a blob, and that blob has little pearls on it. And I thought they were giving me something, so I would just click on the blob, and then the blob would disappear. And I said, okay. Then I realized that this blob is in fact your UI. And if you hover over the little spheres, they mean different things, such as one sphere means talk, one sphere means look, one sphere means take. And I thought, why can't they just label these like a normal adventure game would, so I don't have to guess? Because the spheres change position sometimes. Sometimes they change what they do. So sometimes the talk changes to attack. And let me tell you, when you accidentally press attack on one of these guys that you're talking to, they don't like it very much, and they attack back. I found the game to be very unintuitive. And I kind of struggled with it. I also think the graphics were kind of muddy for what it was doing. They were very detailed, but they were like EGA, so it was like only a few colors. So they were detailed, but also kind of gross. But overall, does it hold up? No, I think it does not hold up as an adventure game. I mean, if you really like esoteric puzzles and kind of weird sci-fi, then maybe you'll like it. I like weird sci-fi, but I'm not a big fan of esoteric puzzles. Next week, Seth, you can play Home Alone 2 Lost in New York for the Super Nintendo.
Great. I'm excited about that. Zach had me play Outrun 2019 for Sega Genesis, developed by Hertz and published by Sega. Outrun 2019 is a kind of sequel to Outrun, which was released in 1986. It's kind of a sequel because Sega didn't develop it, which they did develop the original Outrun. They did, however, publish it and condone it. And, however, once again, it did have two other names, though. It was originally supposed to be Cyber Road on the Mega CD. Then it became Junkers High, and then it became Outrun 2019. So I don't know if they just changed it to Outrun because Junkers High sounds like a horrible name for a game. And maybe they did that just to get a little capture on the audience because the audience already knew Outrun. In Outrun 2019, you drive in 4 different stages, and the vehicle you take through these stages is a rocket car that can get upwards of 800 miles per hour, which is an interesting thought about what the year 2019 was going to look like.
Yeah, I don't remember the rocket cars that came out that year, but...
No. The game was, as I mentioned, released in 1993, which would have been, cover your ears if you're old, 26 years before 2019.
Yep, it sure was.
And now we are 7 years past 2019.
Yep, we sure are.
And I don't know if Outrun 2019 really represents what 2019 was. San Francisco Rush 2049 still has the opportunity to be what 2049 looks like as we barrel closer to that year. It's a simple arcade racer. It was criticized as a simple arcade racer when it was released. Overly simplified through some of the reviews that I was reading and from the gameplay that I played. But if you want something like Outrun, which is kind of a simple arcade racer, except with a rocket, then sure, you could play this game. There are better racing games out there, but Outrun 2019 is decidedly in the middle of the pack. There are worse games. Next week, Zach, you could play Zilliard for the MS-DOS.
Great, I will. Well, thank you everyone for listening to today's episode. If you have any memories or thoughts about Diablo 2, you can email us at classicgamingbrothers@gmail.com. We're available wherever podcasts can be found, be it Podbean, iTunes, or iHeartRadio. We're available on social media, Classic Gaming Brothers or CG Brothers Pod. We're available on Patreon. We're available on YouTube. Look us up, like and subscribe, do all those things. And of course, we're available on our website, www.classicgamingbrothers.com. Again, as a reminder, we're going to be at PAX East at the end of this month. If you see us, say hi. We'll be wearing our merch, so you'll be able to recognize us because we kind of look like the people on the sweatshirts we'll be wearing. But yeah, with that, Seth, am I forgetting anything?
Don't play games like my brother.
And don't play games like my brother.
I've been Seth.
And I've been Zach.
And we've been the Classic Gaming Brothers.
There.
That's right.
That's right.